The 2023 Baltimore Ravens were one of the most complete teams in the NFL last year. They were fourth in scoring offense, first in scoring defense, the number one seed in the AFC, and they had the best record in all of football at 13-4. Now, having said all that, they weren't the perfect team and had several weaknesses that opposing teams could and did take advantage of on several occasions. So what I'm going to do today is go through last year's team and figure out if the 2024 Ravens have fixed some of their issues while still retaining what made them so dominant in 2023. Let's get to it. Welcome in, everyone. This is Jordan with Ravens Flash Report, and today we're going to be looking at each position group on the offense and defense and ranking them as either an upgrade or a downgrade from last year and what sort of impact that may have on this year. Now, obviously, all of this is going to be somewhat conjecture as we don't know what the future holds, but I'll do my best to use analytics and statistics to back up each of these rankings. Please go ahead, give the video a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below whether you disagree or agree with my rankings. Let's start out with the offense, specifically quarterback. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, coming off another MVP season, should remain at the same level. The recent news about his weight drop to 205 pounds is certainly something to keep an eye on during training camp and preseason, but I'm someone that believes in his focus on quickness and flexibility being more helpful than harmful. The retention of Josh Johnson is fine. His experience and his knowledge of the Ravens system make him a backup that can come in and play. My hope is, along with probably several Ravens fans, that after the Devin Leary pick, which at first was a bit head-scratching, but hopeful that he can come in and take over as the new backup quarterback. Obviously, we don't know what Leary will look like, and while many fans, including myself, were underwhelmed by Huntley in his performance against the Steelers in the season finale, this is more of a case of better the devil you know than the one you don't. So with no changes at the quarterback position other than that, I have to say that it is a slight downgrade of Leary over Huntley. Position group that's not a downgrade, and I don't really have to use any pretense for this, is the running back group. Last year going into the season, we had Dobbins, Edwards, and Hill. All three of these guys have proven to be valuable assets in the backfield, especially JK, as many fans believed he would have an incredible season. Obviously, and unfortunately, we know that that was not the case. What was a shock last year, even more than the JK injury, was the emergence of Keaton Mitchell. And while Mitchell, being injured in the latter half of the season and having to come back from that injury is not ideal, if he does look the way he did last year, that's an upgrade for the 2024 Ravens. Justice Hill also had a career year last year, and being given more responsibility and more snaps, he proved he was up to the task, something he will, I'm sure, be doing this year. The drafting of Rasheen Ali provides excellent production in a low-risk, high-reward scenario. But obviously, the real reason that the running back group is an upgrade in 2024 is the addition of Derrick Henry in free agency. I think it's fair to say that, at this point, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry could be the most dynamic and potentially the most dangerous quarterback-running back duo in the modern era of the NFL. But let's slow down and see how they actually play together. Like I said at the beginning, this position group is an upgrade. Moving on. The tight end group is one of the few groups that saw no additions or subtractions through this offseason. Having said that, this group does receive an upgrade rating for me from the 2023 group. The reason being Isaiah Likely. In 2022, we saw when Mark Andrews went down that Likely could fill in and cover for the tight end position. But after breaking out even further in 2023, the Ravens must be pinching themselves as they currently have two tight ends who are starting level quality. Now, at this point, Mark Andrews, when healthy, is still the better tight end in my opinion, but I don't think anyone is going to argue that Isaiah Likely would be a starting tight end on many other NFL teams. If you don't believe me, just imagine the Jets offense with Aaron Rodgers, and instead of Tyler Conklin, they had Isaiah Likely. Last year, the Ravens were top 5 in the tight end position at the start of the season, but with the emergence of Likely and his natural chemistry with Lamar, they, in my opinion, are the best tight end room in the NFL in 2024. So that's an upgrade. Finishing out with the skill positions, wide receiver is one that I think is most interesting in this conversation. For starters, I can see a scenario where on the field, Devontae Walker and Rashad Bateman outproduce the impact of last year's OBJ and Devin Duvernay from a receiving standpoint. Now, obviously, Bateman was on the team last year, so claiming him as some sort of new player is not really my intention. More so if Coach Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta are to be believed about Bateman's increase in snaps and usage, this year could be huge for both him and the Ravens. Because imagine, if you will, Zay Flowers' continued progression, and Bateman on the other side just producing at a near similar level with Walker stretching the field, exposing the middle for either single coverage or even potential lapses in coverage. The addition of Walker and what he could provide from a scheming standpoint, a play calling standpoint, and his potential to further open up the field, for me, has this wide receiver group as an upgrade. Now let's get to the offensive line, where unfortunately I cannot be so optimistic. Losing 3 of your 5 starters from the previous year is a hard pill to swallow for any team, but even more so for one contending for a title with a 2-time MVP under center to protect. I'm going to get right to the point with this position group and give them a rating of downgrade. And it's not because I don't believe in them, but more so because of the same argument I gave the QB group. It's better the devil you know. With Tyler Linderbaum and Ronnie Stanley as the only remaining starters from last year's offensive line, Ravens fans should expect a bit of inconsistency, especially early in the season. Now, I have faith in our second-round selection, Roger Rosengarten, but he is a rookie. Ben Cleveland has shown he's capable at guard, if a bit limited in some aspects, and Andrew Voorhees is still a mystery after not competing at all last year due to the injury he sustained during his combine workout in 2023. But the simple and straightforward answer is we simply don't know about how this group will do. With last year's O-line being in the top 10 in the NFL, there's no way I can rank this group above them right now. Let's move on to the defense, starting with inside linebacker. Now, I've seen many people hailing Trenton Simpson as an even better partner to Roquan Smith than Patrick Queen was, but I myself am not there yet. Now, I do see the reason the Ravens drafted him in the 3rd round last year, but the reason it burns me up so much that Patrick Queen went to the Steelers is because he was so great on the Ravens. And while I had no delusions of the Ravens paying both him and Roquan, he literally picked the worst team to go to. So as of right now, the inside linebacker group is a downgrade. Now, the outside linebacker group, unfortunately, is also a downgrade. Sorry if I got your hopes up there, but with how well Jadeveon Clowney played last year, there's no way I can give this room an upgrade right now. And while I'm excited for Adisa Isaac, seemingly more so than many other Ravens fans, we still don't know what we're going to get out of David Ajabo, and Odafe Owe hasn't exactly broken out yet. In fact, the only linebacker we have with proven pass rush ability is Kyle Van Noy, which, again, all due respect to him, is not his greatest strength if we're being honest. So, yeah, that's a downgrade. Moving inside, though, we're going to talk about the defensive line, and like the tight end group, they saw no additions or losses. This is, of course, something we're very grateful for, as Justin Madubuike received a well-deserved, lucrative contract to stay in Baltimore after having not only a breakout season, but one of the best seasons a defensive tackle can have from a pass rush standpoint, notching 13 sacks. Everyone else on the line, Michael Pierce, Brent Urban, Broderick Washington, and Travis Jones, are still present and accounted for. I know that I gave the tight end group a rating of upgrade despite not losing or gaining anyone, but that was due to Isaiah's emergence. The defensive line being in a similar position of not gaining or losing anyone, I have to give them an upgrade as well. Haha! You thought I was going to say downgrade, didn't you? Nope. The emergence of Justin Madubuike is going to make teams facing us double him and present opportunities for other players like our linebackers and edge rushers. While he did have an amazing season last year, I'm not going to put Madubuike in the same category as Aaron Donald just yet, but he will most likely produce a somewhat similar effect against the offenses we face, requiring more attention. This alone, just like the emergence of Likely, is why I give them a rating of upgrade. Now for the last group on the defense, and yes, I said last group for reasons you'll understand shortly, the Ravens secondary. I know that safety, cornerback, nickelback, strong safety, and defensive back are all names and position groups used to define the secondary. The Ravens are not an organization with such strict titles. Last year, Kyle Hamilton, a safety by title, in just the 49ers game alone, lined up in at least 6 different spots, including up at the defensive line. If that's not positionless football, I don't know what is. The re-signing of Arthur Millette and the additions of Nate Wiggins, TJ Tampa, and Sanusi Kane outweigh the losses of Geno Stone and Ronald Darby, in my opinion. This secondary, as I've stated in a previous video, is going to be in contention for best in the league. It's really the drafting and potential development of Wiggins that puts this group over the top, though. As an outside corner with incredible recovery speed and a natural ability to cover, while also being 6'2", he will immediately allow flexibility for guys like Marlon Humphrey to move inside. This has a cascading effect as Marlon, in the nickel now, frees up Kyle Hamilton to do what he does best, break the game wide open. Now, let me step out of La La Land for a second and be honest. The loss of Stone is significant. His interceptions and ability to come in for the twice-injured Marcus Williams held importance that was immeasurable for this defense last year. Now, if he had come in and been terrible or a liability in coverage, teams would have gone deep on the Ravens all year long. but Stone's smart play and natural ability to break on the ball took that option away from opposing offenses. The Ravens unfortunately did not address a backup free safety option in this year's draft. I really like Sanusi Kane, but he's a box safety through and through. That note aside, however, the cornerbacks and the safeties as one unit get a ranking of upgrade from me. With a final tally of 5-4 in favor of the upgrades, I do believe the Ravens are poised to be in a similar position as they were last year. Now, obviously, with the success that they had in owning the best record in the league, it would be silly of me to tell you they're going to go 17-0, or even 13-4 for that matter again, because the opponents they face outside of their divisions, of course, are going to be different this year. The schedule the Ravens pulled last year did in fact turn out to be the most difficult in the NFL from an opponent standpoint, but that didn't stop them. The difference for me in this year's Ravens versus last year's is looking at where the Ravens saw their largest failings and if they've addressed them. The Ravens were ranked 31st in opponent pass attempts against them, meaning that teams threw on the Ravens more than almost any team in the league. Now, a large part of that is also because teams ran on the Ravens the 6th fewest times of any team, but considering Marcus Williams being injured early in the season causing Geno Stone to fill in for him, teams may have believed that that was a weakness of the Ravens. Not to mention that Marlon Humphrey, our number one corner, didn't start the season for us, and even when he did come in to play his first game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he looked pretty rusty. I think teams saw vulnerability in our secondary and tried to take advantage of it. That's also the reason I believe Eric DeCosta made a point in this draft to solidify our secondary, not just for this year, but for the next few as well. Overall, I would have to say that I do believe the 2024 Ravens have the capacity to be an upgrade over the 2023 Ravens. Now, I realize that last year's defense was literally historic, but they did address the largest issue from last year. The only real concern for me this year for the Ravens defense is how they look against the run. As far as the Ravens offense goes, I don't think I'm the only one who thinks they left some meat on the bone last year. The thought of the Ravens improving their running game from 2023 might have seemed crazy if not for the signing of Derrick Henry. And while I may be in the minority with this thought, I think the increased usage of Rashad Bateman and introduction of Devontae Walker will elevate this passing game more than it did with OBJ and Duvernay last year. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. Do you guys agree with the thought that the 2024 Ravens will be better than the 2023 Ravens? If not, why? Or even if you do agree, but for different reasons, why? What are those reasons? Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below, and while you're there, give this video a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, and as always, stay safe out there, and go Ravens.